Hello one and all. Whew. What an arrival this has been. It's funny when you think you will remember a place because in the past you've been there before, but then as you approach, it dawns on you, yep, things change in time, don't they? And sure enough, there's a heck of a lot of reconstruction work going on around Riga bus station. Let's get used to it, shall we? Right. Need to wipe the old ideas about how to get to and from my mind and see how I can pick my way through all these building works to get to my hostel. So I've just arrived in Riga. Riga Mortis. Riga for short. Riga, the capital of Latvia. Latvia, well, you can consider it perhaps as the meat pate in the Baltic burger, with Estonia being the top half of the bun and Lithuania the bottom half. Those three countries comprise together the Baltic states in common terms, as most of us travellers think of them. If you're none the wiser as to where are the Baltic states, you can either find the Baltic Sea, Northern Europe, to then go to the Far East, and then you will find south of Finland is Estonia across the sea, the eastern end of that Baltic Sea. Or if you prefer to look at a map and begin in Germany, you can then head east into Poland, and then once in Poland, directly northeast into the far corner up there, not straying into Belarus, but you will find the border, the land border with Lithuania. So that's the bottom part of that Baltic burger I just described. But we're in the meat pate part, Latvia. Some things haven't changed. There are still some trams, but we won't need a tram because I'm on foot. My hostel is in the old town, which is just across the road, which in theory should just be an easy underpass stroll. Then it should be about a 10-15 minute walk. Always good to make sure you don't get hit by a tram on arrival. Well, it looks as though my memory of the underpass has worked. I took a quick look on Google Maps beforehand. I decided, oh yeah, I remember this part of Riga well enough. What could possibly go wrong, eh? I think it will be quite straightforward once we have negotiated this underpass. Now, I like to mention how I've saved money here and there. It might be that it works out for you as well. What I discovered was I could save €5 by buying my bus about 6 weeks in advance compared to buying it on the day. I found that out today when I looked at bus prices, and I'm very pleased to say I made that €5 saving. Now here in Riga itself, I'm staying for a few nights, not as many as I'd originally planned, because, to be honest, well, I was a bit slow in booking my accommodation. When I was looking about 2.5 months ago, I noticed that, I could get a private room in a hostel for €17. That was attractive. Alternatively, in the same hostel, €14 for a dorm bed. But I didn't know the exact dates at that stage. When exactly was I going to arrive in Riga, and when exactly did I want to leave? So I hesitated, and when I looked back about 6 weeks ago, I discovered, of course, that €17 private room had disappeared, so had the €14 dorm bed. And something which struck me when I was looking online at hostel prices, I was really surprised because Riga is always quite famous for having really, really inexpensive dorm beds in basic hostels, but they were serviceable. What seems to have happened in recent times, and I suspect it's the a combination of COVID and the downturn in the world economy, contributing factors perhaps have, it seems likely, put a lot of businesses out of business. Those very affordable hostels, most of them are no longer operating, it seems, unless they're going to make a sudden comeback this summer. That remains to be seen. Meanwhile, we're left with hostels which, faced with significantly reduced competition, have seemingly hiked their prices, really in some cases extravagantly. We're talking €30 dorm beds in Riga, which is obscene as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, I managed to get an €18 dorm bed in a hostel in the centre. If I'd picked that hostel I had found earlier, 2.5 months ago, I would have been walking up in this direction for about 30 minutes. That doesn't suit everybody. I wouldn't have minded myself because I would have a private room for €17. As it is, I've got a dorm bed about 10 to 15 minutes in this direction in the old town itself, but it's costing me €18. Yeah. And also there's a sneaky hidden €1 per day city tax that you have to pay when you show up at the check-in. All in all, it becomes rather more expensive than I feel comfortable with. However, it's a new hostel. To me, a new hostel experience. The hostels I've stayed at before, some aren't trading, some have got really bad reviews these days. Others have just become too expensive. So I thought, okay, what I'll do is I'll limit myself to just 3 days in Riga on this occasion. That will give me, well, it's 3 days-ish. 3 nights, I should say, more specifically. So it's really only 2 full days. But I'll have 1 day looking around and videoing the attractive architecture, and another day looking around the nearby national park, Gauja National Park. Now, because there are steps and I'm liable to fall down because I'm an idiot, I had better stop filming just for a moment. See you on the other side. Now we're back. That was nice and easy. The underpass brings us up directly onto Valnu Iella, as I was hoping. I remember this place from, I think 2004, when I started my, I'd been travelling for nearly a year by then. My first time in Riga back then, and by complete chance I ended up staying at this place, the Old Town Hostel. It was one of 2 hostels called the Old Town Hostel. This one ended up keeping the name. It was owned by locals, I suspect that's why. And the Aussie-run place ended up having to change its name to the Naughty Squirrel, which is in a parallel street. Irony is that the Old Town Hostel has ended up being run by Aussies because the locals struggled to actually make a go of it, it seems. Happy memories of staying in this place before it was at all developed. No bar, basically a load of beds stacked up at reception on the ground floor and having to take mattresses upstairs, put your own bed together, and it was about €4 a night, I think. But it was a fun experience, and you could call it a bonding experience, I think, for some of the guests. Like myself, it was kind of a neat alternative, crikey, what's going on here? Didn't imagine I'd have to make my own bed, not literally. But anyway, fun times back in 2004. These days, as you can see, the outdoor bar, frequented by locals as well, the Aussie pub sort of title being pushed forward, and I'm sure it's great for stag parties perhaps, or people who just are attracted to hostels with bars, I suppose. Don't know, but I wouldn't want to stay there again. I've made some great memories back there, so there are plenty of other hostels to make more memories in. And like I said earlier, today I'll be staying in a hostel I've never stayed in before. It seemed to be the lowest priced good hostel in Riga at the time of booking. It's called Treehouse Hostel, and the comments online were very, very favourable. There was just the one downside, really. It seems that either underneath or to the side, depending on which comment you read online, but in very close proximity to the hostel, there is a nightclub or discotheque, restaurant with bar, something of that sort, or a combination of several things, and it does generate quite a bit of noise, which goes on through the night, according to certain reviews online. You might be hearing from me about my opinion of it. And of course, these things can depend very much on just where your bedroom is located. Oh, I hear a car coming behind me. So we're in the old town, but as you can see, it's definitely not pedestrianised. Therefore, maybe the smart thing for me to do would be to try and stay on the pavements as much as I can. You can do all the research you like with hostels to get the best prices that you can, to get a good deal if that's your thing. And you can also try and target the right hostel for you in terms of atmosphere as well as facilities and comfort, possibility of a good night's sleep. But all these things can go completely out the window if you find you've just got one objectionable person staying in the hostel or one fantastic person staying in the hostel. Other guests usually contribute more to your hostel experience than the actual hostel provides itself. The hostel can do so much or so little, and who knows what the result will be, depending on who chooses to stay there. If they attract the wrong type of guest, then it might be that the whole of the 8-bed dorm doesn't get any sleep because of one person vomiting all night. Or maybe one person's a bad snorer, or one person is genuinely sick, one person has BO, one person is too overly familiar, particularly with the female guests. All these possibilities can arise. So the best rated hostel on booking.com can turn into a nightmare for some people staying there, just because they've checked into the wrong dorm at the wrong time, in an otherwise very good hostel option. What you have to be aware of a little bit, particularly in this part of Europe, shall we say, is what remains of the low-budget hostels which are operating. And I did notice among the comments for Riga that what they've done is they've taken in or attracted long-term guests, which long-term guests and genuine backpackers, tourists, travellers, they're not usually a good mix. And, who wants to check into a dorm to find that there are people just staring at them from their corner of the dorm, which they've taken over for their own, and they've got loads of plastic bags full of all kinds of belongings, and perhaps they don't wash very often. They're definitely not travelling. They're more of the local person variety, and those troublesome middle-aged men, you know how that works. Who needs them in a hostel? I did steer clear of a couple of hostels which, price-wise, were attractive. Would have saved me a few euros on what I'm paying. Ooh. There's a monument of some note we'll see later. And there's a tower of some note. A round tower we may see later as well. Circle K convenience store. And, yep, from a combination of memory from years ago, last visit was I think 2016. From what I just looked at quickly online, I think this is where I'm heading. into a pretty popular and busy square. As you can see, may not be the absolute height of the summer, not far off, or maybe it is for some, but certainly it's Riga appears, to me anyway, for a Monday afternoon to be in full swing. And presumably, if these people aren't working, I'm guessing they're tourists like me. Now, if you're staying at Treehouse Hostel, this is what you're faced with. Okay, there may or may not be a McDonald's sign up there. There may or may not be these outdoor dining areas and drinking areas. I suspect there will be, certainly in the summer, but should you be visiting out of season, it may be that they're not here and this is just a big open blank space and you wonder, oh, where's the hostel? Well, Calcu Iella, 11B is over there, 11A is for the hostel. There's a sign, technical, something, Del Club. Okay, I don't know what that means. God, why haven't I brushed up on my Latvian? Oh yeah, I had no Latvian to brush up on, did I? That's right. There's mention of an escape room there on the second floor, so that's an attraction, perhaps, for some people. Now, we're going to the Treehouse Hostel. Welcome receptions on the 4th floor, 9 in the morning till 10 in the evening. Not bad, is it? Not 24 hours, but not bad. Press 4 to go to the Treehouse Hostel. Press 1 to go to the escape room. I'm tempted to go to the escape room, but I won't. Not just yet, anyway. Well now, isn't this a nice surprise? I've just been checked into the hostel. Took the elevator up to the 4th floor, as it was recommended. Talked too much at reception. Tortured the poor girl who was trying to check me in. She's kindly brought me up to the 5th floor. You can continue with the elevator if you need to, or just walk up the stairs. And she's introduced me to my dorm. Out on the corridor, the separate showers and toilets. They are unisex. If you're a lady who gets a little bit anxious about those things, I'm sorry. But on this floor at least, where my 14-bed dorm is, unisex bathroom facilities. I have to say, I'm immediately impressed with this room because they said it was absolutely crammed full, the whole hostel was, at the weekend. This is a Monday. It seems absolutely wonderful. There are only 2, maybe 3 people here at the moment. Of course, it can always change. It doesn't mean that it will be any less wonderful once other people have checked in, but it's just that wonderful first impression, you know? Because often you step into the dorm and think 14 beds, what's it going to be like? Black hole of Calcutta. And actually, no, the window's open, nice fresh air, humming air conditioner. But it looks as though the value of this 14-bed dorm is that it's not on the front of the building. So if you were concerned at all about having that late night noise I mentioned earlier, 14-bed dorm isn't a bad choice, I suspect. Yep, here I am. Comical, isn't it, really? I was sure that I had toned down the amount of essential travel items I was carrying. But yes, I've ended up with all this lot. Way too much. Way too much. So I think I might have to do a bit more thinning out before I leave Riga, if I have time, because I'm only here, as I say, for 2 full days. They're going to be pretty busy. In fact, I'm going to take advantage of the locker, put my valuables away in locker number 4. It's an allocated bed and locker. Bed number 4 is right here. This is perhaps because, although I'm not 100% sure, in advance I did ask special requests in booking.com. You know, there's that box. And I put in there, lower bed if possible, please. And the hostel replied, if possible, we'll see what we can do. And as it is, well, I could almost take my choice, couldn't I? But I've been allocated 4, and that suits me just fine. Okay. Should I look around? There's a router there, so I presume lots of people will have access to Wi-Fi without any problems. There are those shower facilities in there. A little bit dark with the light off. Won't bother going further inside. And here are those unisex toilets, and I see a hairdryer. All looks very nice. More rooms down here, I guess. And, oh, a little library area in the corner. And we're back to the exit or entrance, depending on how you want to view it. And right here, the shoe rack. They like you to take your shoes off on both floors. That's not a problem for me. No stinky shoes in the dorm, so that's good. And downstairs, you do have to be aware that they close the kitchen and reception area, the lady just told me, between, if I can remember, 8 in the morning, no, between 11 at night and 8 in the morning. So if you leave anything down in that area after 11 o'clock at night, it will be locked away until 8 in the morning. So if you're planning to leave at 6 or 7 in the morning to go out anywhere, you might find your shoes are locked away down there, or you can't get your food out of the fridge. Buyer beware. Can't say you haven't been told. Right then, let's put the valuables away. How convenient. If you're staying in the Treehouse Hostel here, why not go 2 floors down and visit the escape room? 60 hours of, no, not 60 hours, 60 minutes of entertainment, which could turn into 60 hours of entertainment, I suppose, or panic, just depending on whether you can get out or not. If you can't escape, you might be there 60 hours or 60 days, who knows? But it operates between these hours and on these days. Looks like every day of the week between 10 in the morning and, is that 2 in the afternoon? Or is it between 10 in the morning and 2 in the morning? Might need to get that clarified. Anyway, an attraction on the doorstep of the hostel, just in case you're looking for something different to do. Is there ever a bad time for chocolate? Yes, I've come out of the hostel. Just heading back to something we saw earlier when I was on the way to checking in. This Freedom Monument here at the heart of modern-day Riga. Let's have a look at the river. I do believe at one time I read somewhere that Riga was one of these fabled Venice of the Norths, you know. We've covered this topic previously, I know. I think when I was in, where was it? Haapsalu, I believe. Yes. Nothing like Venice, and nor is Riga. But it's funny how these little titles get attached to towns and cities, towns and cities, isn't it? Oh, there's a river and a few bridges. Oh, it's like Venice. Declaration on the Restoration of Independence of the Republic of Latvia in 1990. There's one image. And there, an uncountable number of people all gathered around this monument in 1991. I'm on the way to the supermarket. Shame about all the trash. Let's cross the bridge and just take a little look as the sun's nowhere near going down yet. Oh, isn't it great in the summertime when you can have the benefit of this extra light? Here we have the National Opera House. It's rather nice to not have blinding sun for a change. I've been making some videos where I've needed my sunglasses, sun hat, the whole shebang. I don't know how that comes across on the video, whether I look as though I'm deliberately trying to be in disguise or not. Now, the main purpose of this little walk, after getting myself bedded down in the hostel, is to just take a little look-see round, do a bit of filming, and also to pop my nose into the supermarket just to buy some snacks for tomorrow, as well as something a bit more substantial for this evening. I think a piece of cooked chicken for this evening, or maybe some sausages, depends what's on offer in the hot food section, if there is a hot food section. It's getting a bit late in the day for the hot food section to still be operating, I suppose, so I may have cooked my goose. And what on earth are these? I don't know, but I like them. Can't remember seeing these things before anywhere, so I'm not sure if they are a little bit of a rare species. Let's continue walking down by the riverside for a little bit, shall we? An Old Town panorama trip by canal. Catras entry. I see there's some activity there, so maybe they do operate in the evening when it's nice weather like this and there's great enough demand. Not the Italian gondolas of Venice. That would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? But nice little boat all the same. So if you're travelling with a lady or with somebody who likes the idea of a romantic little boat ride, why not? Seems like a good idea to me. It was in my mind beforehand to perhaps take the train from Riga tomorrow out to Sigulda to start my walk around the national park. However, when I was looking online to check out a timetable, prices, that sort of thing, what I found was, actually it seemed to be what I was looking at, limited timetable without Sigulda listed. I had it in my head in the past, back in 2004, that I'd taken a train for at least part of the trip, whether it was out there or coming back. So I think what I might be doing is taking the bus to get out there, or to Crimulda actually, the nearby town. From Crimulda, start the walk, and on completion of the walk, I would perhaps end up at the train station in Sigulda and, if possible, take the train back to Riga from there. So I'm in two minds. I'll definitely be taking the bus out to the national park tomorrow, I think, weather permitting, or maybe the next day, and just see what's operating out of the train station. If there's nothing, or if there is a little local train, it'll be nice taking a train for a change, because I'm not the biggest fan of bus travel. Even though it's all convenient and reasonably priced, if you've snagged yourself a bargain, of course. It can be dreadful sometimes, can't it? You have these ideas in your head about the layout of the town and the walkways and such like, and then you come back and seeds of doubt are sown, especially when there's a lot of roadworks and things going on. And sure enough, come up from the underpass, and here indeed is the train station. There's a big crane behind it. I am wondering how many services are running, particularly as I mentioned just now, I hadn't been able to see details of that service to Sigulda. There I was thinking before I arrived in Latvia that perhaps the supermarket prices and other prices would be just a little bit less than they are in the supermarkets in Estonia. And I'm quite surprised, actually. Prices are about the same as in Estonia based on that one trip. I've just spent €8 on a banana, a small piece of ginger, two little mini, I think they're called paragus, which sort of resemble mini pasties, I suppose. A box of bran flakes, a small half-litre box of milk, and also from the hot food counter there wasn't much at all left, but there was some sort of minced meat thing. I'm not sure what the flavouring's going to be like, but there was something at least, so I'm not going to complain. And now we're down in the underpass. Just see how the lighting works. Probably not very well, because particularly when there's this sort of flickery strobe lighting indoors, my camera really doesn't work very well under those lighting conditions. And let's go up this way, because I think we'll see a little bit more of architecture. I'm walking down the side of the river-ish, I suppose you could say. And oh, I've come up the wrong underpass and I'm in the middle of something entirely different. Well, this is where I've come up, next to where you pick up buses, trams, electric trolley buses, I suppose. Let's go back down, shall we? Perhaps I needed to pay a bit more attention to where I was going. Tourists, eh? What can you do with them? Yeah, the money's useful, but they're only problematic. The next thing they'll do is start asking questions about which way to this place? Have I heard of that place? God, I'm sure the locals absolutely hate us. And with good reason. So here we are again, crossed over that little bridge. There's the National Opera House. And as I remembered, just over here, they are. Handsome group. Looks like a chow dog. what would you say? Edwardian? Very late Victorian gentleman and lady? That would be my guess. And the information is all down here. George Armistead, Mayor of the City of Riga, 1901 to 1912. With his spouse, Cecile, and no mention of the dog. Well, there we are. It's actually from 2006. Somebody's rubbing the head of that dog for good luck. Giving it a bit of a polish. And of course in Europe, the omnipresent naked woman. With naked children, actually. The ornate fountain with the National Opera House as a backdrop. And there we are. What do you think? Pretty as a picture? Well, no, maybe not me, but and here we are again, heading back down towards your friend and mine, the chilled, relaxed, cool, clean, bright and breezy hostel, Treehouse Hostel. I've been wanting to call it Tea Tree Oil Hostel for some reason, and I've got this other hostel in my head which I booked recently, which is called Lemon Tree Hostel, in a completely different country, a completely different month. Everything's gone surprisingly well. The staying in the 14-bed dorm looked daunting on paper, but in reality I've met some of the people, very nice normal people. What's going on? But the proof is in the pudding, of course. We'll see how it works out, the reality of trying to sleep in there tonight. All being well, let's stay positive. Should be without any problems. We'll just take a little look at some of the architectural features round here in this square, shall we? I just feel a few warm beads of moisture on my head. Yeah, lovely, lovely first day in Riga. I think I'll end it there and wish you an early night, even though I won't be going to bed just yet. And catch up again in the next video, which will be... let's wait and see.